Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's special town council meeting. Today is Monday, September 16th at 8 a.m. Mr. Clerk, if you could please take the roll.
Councilmember Lord,
Here.
Councilmember Duncan,
Here.
Councilmember Ramirez,
Here.
Vice Mayor Callahan,
Here.
Mayor Mirabot.
Present.
Quorum.
All right. Thank you, everybody. If you could please rise with me and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our town council meeting. I appreciate everybody agreeing to come in. As you all know, or hopefully you all know, the homeless trust looking to purchase item is going in front of the Board of County Commissioners again. And many times I've talked to many of the commissioners, and we really don't have anything of a consensus from our council where we can bring to them. It's just kind of, well, this is my opinion, but I'm one of five. So I just wanted to get us all together on board and to just kind of make sure that we are sending a message collectively from the town rather than just from myself. And so I'm going to just go through a real quick history of what's been going on, and then I'm going to ask for your input and see what your feelings are, see if they're in alignment with mine or not. So, Maurice, if you could bring up the PowerPoint on this, please. Okay. All right. So let me see if I can do this. Look at that. Where? When did this journey begin? This is the first time, November 13th is where this item was brought in front of the Board of County Commissioners. Now, quite honestly, that's not really where this started. It started beforehand when the Homeless Trust went out looking for sites to try to purchase, to convert into transitional housing. I attended that meeting. I voiced my concerns about that. And quite honestly, along the entire way, we've been beaten up about it because the Board of County Commissioners is framing is you're against homeless. And quite honestly, we're not. We've never been against homeless. What we were trying to convey to them is that we have a very important development that's going on in this area that we've been working on for decades to try to bring to this area, to bring much needed housing and much needed jobs to the South Dade County area. We finally have a jewel of a project, $1.5 billion investment, which is going to bring 6,000 jobs and thousands more units of housing, many more units of workforce housing. And when they framed it as, oh, you don't care about homeless, it's really, it's unfair and unjust. We recognize that the 107 units that they want to put there, it will help the situation. But we never wanted to stand in the way of that. We just wanted to have an alternative site because we thought that an alternative site would be a win-win. It allows for them to still provide the housing needed for the homeless, but it also encourages development in the area. Often you've heard the Homeless Trust and Ron Book talk about, well, there's nothing over there but a check cashing store and a strip bar, and this will be an improvement. And my argument was, yes, but once the Homeless Trust goes in there, that prevents any redevelopment in that area, which we know is about to happen. Matter of fact, from what I understand, both the strip bar and the check cashing store have already been sold for redevelopment. So those are the kind of things we want to encourage. Development, which is good for the community, never standing in the way of the Homeless Trust with alternative sites available to them. So we did offer some alternative sites. We offered oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm going to go to the next slide here real quick before I get to the restrictive covenants. So actually, let me go back to that real quick. So when this first came out, we really didn't know. There was no, I guess, restrictions on what the Homeless Trust could do there. Ron Book came to our meeting and addressed our residents at the request of Mayor Cava. And excuse me, sorry. Okay. there were really, he said, listen, we weren't planning on having a needle exchange there, but really there was nothing written on what they could do there. And that's just not right. We need to have some type of say-so what goes on in our community and be able to work together to make it a positive community for everybody. So since then, I'd like to, thank our Commissioner Danielle Cohen-Higgins for fighting to make sure that we had a little bit more of an understanding of what was going to go there, and that was going to be compatible with the community. Some of the restrictive conditions, again, the housing will be leased apartments. We asked for 62 years and older, background checks, a bunch of things which we thought would be better. And at first it was like, no, we don't, want to, we're not going to do needle exchange, but no, we're not agreeing to any restrictions. And then as that slowly transitioned, we started to get more of an agreement on, okay, we'll have some restrictions on there, so it won't be the pariah that you think it's going to be in your neighborhood. And again, I'm going to go back to it again and again. It's not that we think it's a pariah. It's just think that we can have a win-win at an alternative site. We did offer alternative sites. We found one that was 93 units on Southwest 186th Street, 10100. And it's already been approved for senior housing. And we proffered that up to them. The only difference was it's still inside the town of Cutler Bay, but it's on the fringe of between District 8 and 9. From my perspective, we often hear people arguing that we're the ones saying not in our backyard, but at the very commission meeting, it was like, oh, why are you going to put it in our backyard? Why are you going to put it in District 9 instead of District 8? Because it's a perfect spot is why. Because it was right on the transit way. It's still within the town of Cutler Bay. The cost to the county would be extremely less. It was going to be no cost to the county to build it. Okay. And it would provide new housing. And we have an owner that was willing to do that. It seemed like the perfect fix, a perfect win, but unfortunately that was denied, and then went back to the same rhetoric of, oh, you're against homeless, you don't want them in your backyard. So we've offered other sites to them. And no matter what, it's like, no, we have to go forward with this one. I question why, because especially when you look at the La Quinta purchase, you think about this. The La Quinta, about 3 years prior to when this started, was sold for $6 million. And then a few years later, the Homeless Cause Trust comes in and says, hey, we want to buy it, not for $6 million, not for $10 million. How about $14 million? The county appraised the property. The property is appraised at $10 million. Yet they still want to go forward with a $14 million purchase. Some lucky businessman, I'll call him lucky, is going to make a lot of money off of this. So they're going to go forward with that. You think about the cost difference between 14 million and 10 million, or the additional housing that you could do with the 14 million, and especially when you compare it to zero upfront cost, a lot more housing could be provided. Not to mention, there's also the environmental contamination on this site, which is pretty poor. It's not something that we've made up. Obviously, it's in the county records. They can see it's going to need some cleanup. When that was brought up, where it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. But there's other sites in the county that have the same condition where apparently it is a big deal. So I wonder if that's going to apply everywhere. We don't know. So here we are now. We had Ron book in front of the Board of County Commissioner meetings and says, I'll agree to all these covenants that we've been pushing for. And that was, I consider, a win, because quite honestly, yeah, even though it's not the best use of the site, but a senior-friendly housing, transitional housing, is not such a bad thing for a community. Again, I think we would be in a better place, especially with the restrictions putting it on, making it a positive part of the community. I think it's really important. But when the actual ordinance was coming out as proposed, the purchase was for 14 million, almost 15 million, $14,990,000. The covenants were no longer in there. Now they were guidelines. We met with Commissioner Higgins, not Cohen Higgins, but Commissioner Higgins from District 5 to discuss our issues. And she had some strong objections to using the words covenants. And that's where we're at right now. Well, they're basically, I believe, as we saw it, it was coming forward, with a lot of positive things as far as the type of restrictions and things, but not the requirements. And in our discussion, it's like, well, listen, we're the county. You can trust that we're going to hold them accountable to this. My point was, well, yeah, in 2 years I won't be here. In a couple of years you won't be there. Whoever's next, will they still have the same feelings as you do going forward for the community? And that's the one thing that they can't guarantee. So that's where we're at. We were at a little bit of a disagreement on how we hold these covenants together, or whether they're just guidelines or requirements. And I wanted to get your opinion because tomorrow's going to be going in front of the Board of County Commissioners. And our commissioner has indicated that she's willing to continue to fight for covenants. And we need, as our voice, to go ahead and either support that or tell them that we like it that it is. And just one other little caveat, which when we were down there, we found out the Camilla's house apparently has had an issue now with the homeless trust on their funding. And they've sent a letter to the city of Miami. I'm sorry, to Miami-Dade County and city of Miami Beach, letting them know that they would be, with their current funding, they're not gonna be able to provide the Camilla's house, 107 beds downtown anymore. So, great. We're in a good position here. They're gonna lose beds one area and gain them in another area so that's where we're at, folks. So what I was thinking what we would do is I would like to have some open discussion on it, get your feelings on it. And then I'd like a motion for a resolution to support, in my mind, is for the county to follow what Ron Book and the Homeless Trust agreed to, which is covenants. And not have watered down wording where it is something less than covenants, just guidelines, So that's what we're here to discuss. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and real quick, just go over some of the things that they did agree to or should be in there. It's for supportive transitional housing, 55 and over. The tenants will be required to have annual leases. There will be no needle exchanges. Background checks will be conducted on all potential tenants prior to entering any lease. They'll exclude any individuals identified as sexual predators or sexual offenders. The property will have a continuous operational closed circuit television. They'll make some improvements to the facade to make it more palatable and mix in with the community. And let's see, there'll be no more than 2 tenants per unit. And there will be an on-site management company to watch things. So with that, I'm going to open up the floor.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
it's Mitch Bierman. I wanted to add a couple of things that I observed from the meeting with Commissioner Eileen Higgins. What she told us about the covenants was that she objected to the use of covenants because it would restrict the use of county land in the future. And she said the example is if a meteorite hits that building and it's no longer operated as a senior center for formerly unhoused people, that if there was a restriction, they would have to go through a lot of hoops in order to remove that restriction and allow another use, say, as a community center. And I felt, and I tried to voice to her, that we thought that the covenant could be worded in such a way that it only includes the restrictions in the event that the facility is used for or to house formerly unhoused individuals. And I believe there are some other commissioners that may espouse that position and may be willing to advocate in favor of a covenant that would apply only in that case. With respect to the wording of guidelines, we also said in any event that it needs to be stronger than guidelines. It needs to be clear that these are requirements of operating this, and that whether it's the town that has an enforceable right or the county that has the enforceable right. It needs to be an enforceable right. It needs to be something that has, quote, teeth, unquote, so that if there's departure from those requirements, then somebody can come in and enforce the requirements. And I believe that she heard that, and she, I think, said that they were going to be making some potential edits, and that the item that's currently on the agenda can be amended on the floor. So that's I think where we left it with her.
Thank you, Mitch. Appreciate that. Ralph, is there anything that you needed to add on from your perspective before I give the floor to the council?
No, Mayor, I think just it's.
Oh, real quick, I'm sorry. I need a motion to allow BJ to join by remote.
So moved.
We have a motion. Looking for a
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Right. Go ahead, Ralph.
No, Mayor and Council, I think you kind of recapped it in the PowerPoint presentation, but I just want to take this time to thank, both Chad and Mitch, because they've been working behind the scenes, dealing with a lot of the county staff, county commissioners, Mayor Cava's office as well, and the homeless trust. So I just want to thank them. There's a lot of meetings that have been held leading up to this point, and also with Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, Chief of Staff, and Gervais Clayton as well. So I just wanted to say that.
Council, your thoughts? Oh, BJ, would you like to go first? How your hands up? Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you all for allowing me to participate remotely. I'm out of town presently, and it was a prearranged trip. Nonetheless, I would like to say that I do echo everything that you said, Mr. Mayor. I think that we need to have, if we've already been fighting for these types of changes and restrictions already for this long, and just calling them guidelines or keeping them as guidelines, there's nothing that says that can't change moving forward. So I think we need to continue to fight to get something that is in writing, whether it's a covenant or we call it something else, something that explicitly states what these restrictions are that we are in favor of for this property. And then, like you said, it's not a matter of being against homelessness or solutions to homelessness. It's always been about the location of the La Quinta relative to the Southland Mall development, and not wanting to inhibit any sort of development there or any future development that we're trying to revitalize this area that's really needed it for a very long time. So ultimately, if the county is unmoved and wanting to find a different location, and they're dead set on this La Quinta, even at $4 million over the appraised value, which like you said, I mean, this is taxpayer money, this is taxpayer dollars. It's not the greatest use of funds when you can do a lot more with that money. If the county so chooses and decides that this is the property that they have to have, then I think we need to continue to fight to get all of those restrictions that you discussed earlier, that our team has fought for, to get those in writing, so that they become official and not just some sort of guideline that they can pick and choose when they want moving forward to abandon. Thank you.
Thank you, BJ.
Yeah.
Councilman Lord.
Again, not to echo everything that's already been said, but I feel strongly that guidelines are not going to have the teeth that they need to have, especially in a situation like this. I am the biggest advocate for our seniors. As many of you know, I asked for this to be a certain percentage of the La Quinta at our initial public outreach to be committed to seniors and veterans, and Mr. Book would not commit to that at that time. I want to thank our Commissioner Cohen-Higgins for being the champion for what I see really is the root of what, this is not the right location in my opinion, but aside from that is the close to $5 million that is being overpaid for this location when a free location was offered to the county. And then the cleanup cost on top of that, these are our taxpayer dollars and nobody seems to really care about that, right? So I do think the covenants would be a win. I'm very happy that it's going to be senior housing now. But I do feel like we need something a little stronger than just guidelines.
Thank you. Councilman Ramirez.
Well, probably not gonna like this, but day one, the homeless trust chairman has flip-flopped more than a fish out of water. And when I called him out about it here in our chambers, he basically called me a liar and then kind of backed off a little bit because he knew that what I was talking about was 100% true. On top of that, $5 million over the price and having other properties for sale in Dade County with dirty ground or contaminated ground has those projects on hold when this one here, they say, oh, doesn't matter because it's going to be ours. It's going to belong to the county. Restrictions and covenants. Okay, let's be very honest here. If we allow the restrictions to go, at some point, this property can be whatever the county wants it to be. All right, there's nothing stopping them from turning it into a homeless or workforce housing or even, housing for circus performers that are in town. I mean, it doesn't matter what they want to do if we don't do that. We have fought as hard as we could because we're not on board to where it's at, especially when you were offered up a location that cost the county $0, and that wasn't good. All right. Now we're going to take $5 million, overpay for it. And here's poor Camilla's house, which does a great job and has always done a great job. Now they're actually going to lose 118 rooms to get 107. It doesn't make any sense. Even the math doesn't work out. But it's not about putting people in homes. It's about controlling the money. When the offer was made for the $0 to the county, and that was rejected, it right there told you it's not about putting people in houses. It's about being in control with the money. And unfortunately, that's not going to help the homeless. It really isn't. And we've never been against senior. We win awards for our seniors programs. So it's not about whether we want seniors here or not. Listen, if it boils down to what this is, seniors, beautiful people, we love them, we'll have them. That's, I'm a senior, okay? But at some point, if we don't have the covenants in place, that piece of paper that they're signing with that contract means nothing. It means nothing, all right? Somebody's gonna get paid and we're on the hook with whatever changes happens. And I don't know if it's the attorneys or the homeless trust that did that little tweak on the words, but, shame on you for going outside of what it is that we've actually met and had and kind of come up to an agreement, even though we don't like it necessarily, but we're gonna accept that. So, that's my 2 cents and kind of a shame that was trying to get snuck in there. And I'm not happy about that at all.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Well, as everyone knows, I always have a lot to say. So the objective of us meeting today is to put together a resolution in support of covenants? Is that why?
Well, whatever the council so decides, but it was my suggestion that we come something that we can present to the Board of County Commissioners from the council as a whole. My perspective was that the covenants which were agreed to by Ron Book should be included in the final purchase agreement.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I think that's enough said, right? I mean, we certainly can sit here and discuss the issues and the unfairness and the lies and all of that. But I think, at this point in time, it's just rhetoric, right? I mean, it's doesn't hold water right now. So with that being said, then that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
Other than that, then, I would ask that a motion from the council to follow section 4, requiring the restrictions or covenants be included in the language. The section 4 things that we did agree to, as I read off, property will serve as a permanent supportive housing exclusively for seniors 55 and older. Tenants will be required to annual leases and provide proof of ability to pay the required rent. No needle exchange or similar programs, outreach programs shall be operated on the property. Background checks shall be conducted on all potential tenants prior to entering any lease and excluding any individuals identified as a sexual predator or sexual offender as defined by section 21-280 of the county code. The property will maintain a continuous operational closed circuit television system. Property will include exterior facade, which will be renovated and continually maintained to comply with the applicable county building and zoning code standards. And that such guidelines may from time to time be implemented. There'll be no more than 2 tenants per residential unit. There will be an on-site management company. Looking for a motion for.
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Lord. Looking for a second.
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Ramirez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mitch, do you and Chad have everything you need to put that forward?
Yes,
Okay.
I think we do. As you know, things may get morphed today. A substitute item may be put on the agenda, and we will be speaking to other county commissioners. So we'll keep you up to date, and we will be there tomorrow for the discussion at County Commission.
All right. Thank you very much. Ralph, anything else, sir?
No, members council, like Mitch said, we've been in constant communication with Maggie Fernandez, who's the chief of staff for Commissioner Elaine Higgins. So as items develop, we will send this video to both her and to our 2 county commissioners as well. So that way they can understand our position. Thank you.
All right. All right. And
Mayor
again,
Buck?
I'd like to thank Commissioner Cohen Higgins for all the hard work that she's put forward on this. I'd also like to thank Commissioner Eileen Higgins for meeting with us and trying to work to make this better for all of us. And hopefully that will come out or something which is going to be a win for the county and a win for Cutler Bay as well. So
You may want to open for public comments in case anyone.
I'll open up for public comments this time. Anybody, there's nobody in the room here with us. Anybody in the queue?
No one in the queue as well.
All right. Public comments is now closed. This meeting is adjourned. Gotta make it a call.